Hi guys, welcome back to the OCD Recoveries YouTube channel. Gemma here. I wanted to do a little video today about being a bad parent. Now, I use the term very loosely because I don't believe in being a bad parent. Now, I'm not saying there aren't bad things you can do as a parent, because there certainly are. You know, I see documentaries of people that harm their children and people that make some really, really bad decisions. And are they bad things to do? Absolutely, they're bad acts. But that doesn't make someone a bad parent, because in order to do that, you would have to be entirely bad, which isn't possible, because we can also do good things and we can also be neutral. And also, who gets to decide what a bad person is? No one. There's no one that has the authority to decide who a good and bad person is. And if they did, it would be a man-made concept. So being a bad parent is something that people that have children and have OCD tend to experience a lot, the thought of. And that's because we care about our children. You know, we don't want to be a bad parent, because being a bad parent, well, I suppose that it's a fear of judgment. It's a fear of messing them up, ruining their lives. It's a fear of just not giving them the best that you possibly can, and therefore that meaning that you're not only a bad parent but you're a bad person. So there's lots of fears behind being a bad parent, and quite often we can overcompensate, and that's a massive compulsion that I used to do and that people I work with do, and something that I don't think I ever really realized was a compulsion until quite far down the line. But because you spent so much time thinking that you were a bad parent because of, you know, whether that be the thoughts you were having, whether that be because of how you were functioning whilst experiencing OCD, because that was definitely something for me, is sometimes I felt like I just wasn't even functioning. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I never missed a thing, but I was not present for a lot of things, like mentally. And you know, she saw things that I would have rather she didn't see. So she saw things like me having extreme panic attacks and, you know, things that I would much rather her not have seen. And I did at those points think, oh my God, like she deserves better than this. Like, I'm a bad parent. And I mean, that's just crazy to put that on yourself when you're going through something as difficult as OCD. You just have no compassion for yourself whatsoever. And you just think, no, I'm terrible. That's what it comes down to. I'm terrible. So yes, overcompensation is what I was saying, sorry. So we quite often, because we feel like a bad parent for the reasons I've outlined, and maybe many other reasons, I'm sure everyone's got their own reasons, but those were a couple of my biggest ones, we'll then try to go out of our way to make it up to them in other ways, you know, never saying no to things, or constantly buying them things, or constantly like being nice, or you know, even when they've done something wrong, not telling off, punishing, anything like that, because we always just want them to think of us as well as possible, because we already feel like a bad parent. We don't want to make that feel worse. So we can definitely go over the top, and I know that is something very, very common with OCD, and it's really, really important for us to notice when we're doing that, and, you know, still be a parent. We don't have to go completely the other way and just not parent anymore because we're scared of them ever feeling bad, or we want them to think well of us, because people aren't always going to think well of us. We could even, you know, go over the top and do all of these things and try and be that great, perfect parent, and maybe when they're older, they'll think, yeah, to be honest, like, they never punished me, never, you know, instilled these things that would have helped me in later life, because they always wanted to, like, be as nice to me as possible. And therefore, I feel like I could have had a better childhood. So even by doing all those things, even by being overly nice and by overcompensating and trying to get the label of good parent, because we feel like we've got the label of bad parent currently, it could still go the opposite way. Whatever you do, you don't know the outcome of that. You don't know how it's going to be taken. You don't know how it's going to go down. So it's really important just to do what you're doing, do what you feel in the moment is right, And if later down the line you regret that, then later down the line you regret that. And you're never ever going to go through life not feeling any kind of regret. It can't happen, because there's always going to be something that we afterwards we think, why on earth did I do that? Like, what made me do that? Like, what was going on in my head that I thought that that was something that was acceptable or something that I wanted to do? But that's life. We're humans, we're fallible, we make mistakes, we can apologize for those mistakes. If people don't accept those apologies, fine, but we can, you know, if we feel that way. We can just do the best with what we have at the time, and we're not always going to get it right. There's no way to get it right, because there is no right. So just do your best to not let that fear of being a bad parent impact the way you act, the way you behave, and what you do as a parent, because you don't know the outcome of that anyway. You don't know what's going to come from that anyway. So you may as well just do what you feel is right in the moment. If you have regrets later down the line, that's fine. We all do, and we're all going to. But the good thing is, even if you do have regret later down the line, you can work on that. You don't have to feel intense shame, intense guilt, intense feelings of, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm the worst person ever. You can just look at the fact that you did what you felt was right in the moment. Maybe it wasn't the best thing that you could have done, but it's what you did do. You can't change it. All you can do is learn from that. And that's the important thing about regret, is not beating yourself up, because that has no return investment whatsoever. Beating yourself up doesn't help. Learning from that and then adjusting your behavior accordingly for the future, that is what helps. Thanks so much for listening, guys. If you want to use our recovery services, coaching services, then it's just on the next slide for you. And if you've got any videos in particular that you'd like me to cover, any topics, please just pop a comment down below. I hope you all have a wonderful day.